Yes,
Powered by Riverside.
love it, baby. All right. Welcome, everybody. Welcome to today's episode. I am your host, real estate broker extraordinaire, real estate broker extraordinaire in New York City and all over the world. All over the world. And I'd like to welcome a very special guest today, a guy that I just got reconnected to. You gotta love life, right? How it's like, when did I initially meet you? What, 10 years
Oh my
ago?
God. At least, maybe, probably more than that, actually.
More than that. More
Yeah,
than that.
probably.
Well, let me
Yeah.
introduce. I got to introduce you because we're gonna start talking, and everyone's gonna be like, Glenn Asher. Who's Glenn Asher? And please fill in any information that I don't have correctly. Title rep extraordinaire. Is that fair to say? Is it the king of title? Should I say the king of
The
title?
title, just call me the title guy.
Ask the title guy. It's the ask the
That's
title
right.
guy. But
That's
I
correct.
look, you're my king of title, and I hope that didn't come out weird. But everybody from Kensington Vanguard, we've got Glenn Asher, who is the title guy, man. Is the title
Thanks,
guy.
Jonathan. Thanks,
Is
bud.
that, how was that
An
for an
intro?
introduction?
Yeah, pretty good.
It was just
Pretty good.
okay. It wasn't.
Yeah.
Yeah, it
I mean, the
wasn't.
music was a little loud in the beginning, but it's okay.
Was it
I
too
like
loud?
it.
Well,
I
well,
like
you're
a,
wearing
I like a
your
big
headphones.
intro. I like a big intro.
No, yeah, because you got to get them up here, right? You got to really like set the expectation,
I get
right?
it.
And like when they hear the intro coming in, the people are driving, they're like, "Oh God, we're into this."
We're grooving it.
So look, let's get right into it because my three listeners are very curious. What is a title guy? What is a title guy? What's the, like
So,
talk to people like they're stupid. What is a title guy?
yeah. So, title is the X factor, I like to call it, in a transaction. It is necessary for both loans on refinances, any type of lending, or any type of real estate transaction. So, there's two types of policies. We're an insurance company, so we insure houses and assets and anything that's tangible and is residential or commercial property, whether it's industrial, whether it's air rights, whether it's a residential property, condo, there's no title insurance on co-ops. There's a special policy that some people get called an eagle policy, but pretty much we do residential commercial transactions.
So now,
I've been doing
again,
it.
Glenn, not to cut you off, but like, okay, I'm buying $1 million condo. Why do I need title insurance?
Sure. So
Yeah.
there's two types of deals. There's a cash deal, and then there's a finance deal, right? So if you're purchasing a property with a loan, you get two types of policies. You get a fee policy or an owner's policy, which protects you as the buyer, and then the other policy is called a lender's policy, which protects the lender. So let me
So
explain
you
each
need to
and
get these policies. You must get these two policies.
well, on the lender side, lenders request title policies. And the reason that they do so is because they want to protect their interest in the property to make sure that they're in first lien position. So if, God forbid, they need to foreclose on the property, they're the first ones that get paid back. So
Got it.
they take a loan
So they
policy.
require it. So they require
That's
it.
that's correct. Now, is an owner's policy optional? I mean, they say it is. In my career, first of all, in Florida, for instance, where I live, and we're a national company, so we do, the whole country. But in Florida, the underwriters do not allow us to close on a purchase unless we issue title insurance. Unfortunately, and how I explain it to people, and we're a special type of insurance. Um, we insure backwards. And I know I'm going to break that down. So any insurance policy usually covers, something that you purchase moving forward, meaning if you buy it today, you're protected tomorrow, and I protect you from, until you sell the property, until you sell your ring, what have you. In title
So
insurance,
yeah.
we're actually insuring backwards. And what I mean by that is at the closing table, you're issued a title policy. Our responsibility as a title company is to ensure all previous issues to make sure that at the closing, you are getting a property that is free and clear of encumbrances, judgments, liens, issues, taxes.
I mean,
It's
like you
our
said, encumbrances, right? And like again, I want to idiot proof it because like
sure,
you do this every day. What's
sure.
the most common encumbrance?
I
Name
mean, you
name
have
one or
you
two.
you, you have you have encumbrances that could be anything from property lines, right? A walkway,
Like
something
they're saying the
that
property's this big, but the property's smaller or whatnot.
correct, or you
Survey's
have
wrong or something.
or you have an easement, right? An easement is something where there's different types of easements, obviously, but the most common easement is you have to walk through someone else's property to access yours.
Right.
So
By the
that
way, by the way, now that we're talking about easements, I belong to a tennis club in Forest Hills, and there's this guy I play tennis with, and he's telling me it snowed, and the snow's so bad that he has to go on someone's property that he shoveled out. He's like, I had to shovel my neighbor's property, who's this
yep,
older woman,
yep.
to get to his house. So I'm like, do you have the easement? Do you have an easement? I asked him. And he's like, I don't know. He's like, what's an easement? I'm like, well, an easement's, the ability to go on someone's property to access yours. And I'm like, you
That's right,
should check. I'm like,
right.
you should check because if you don't, that could be a problem.
Sure. And there's a lot of different types of issues when it comes to properties, and it really depends on geography. Think about this. A lot of people build stuff on their property without getting permits. So is it a big deal? No, it's fine while you live there, but go to sell it and get an appraisal. So in Suffolk County, you have a lot of people that have larger properties that build a shed on their property and they don't get permits for it. And they don't get the C of O or certificate of occupancy doesn't cover it. Now, when the surveyor comes and the appraiser comes, they're pulling up a single structure on the property that shouldn't be there. So now you have to tackle that issue. The title insurance covers a lot of things. In Florida, like I said, underwriters do not let us close on a transaction as a title agent without giving title insurance. So, for instance, we
Let me,
can get down, we can
I
get
just
down
wanted to
to
ask
the
you something really quick.
sure.
Let's say when you're doing your research, right, and you find an encumbrance. Let's say you find title wasn't properly transferred, 20 years ago. God knows what, right? Then
hmm
what? What, you clean
So
it
so
up, or how does that work?
Yeah, this we're the largest privately held title company in America, Kensington. I've been there for 25 years. We do the right thing, and what I mean by that is there's a lot of title companies out there that, and I don't want to call them subpar, but they're worried about closing the deal. Right? They want to get this transaction closed. They'll do whatever it takes to get this deal closed. I believe that we can't just band-aid something, right? If you do it the right way, and sometimes it takes a little bit longer or more work to get the satisfaction and not just clear it based on a business decision. So we want to do things the right way so that moving forward, no one has an issue with what we insured. Now, obviously, if we don't do our job, you put in a claim and we get sued, and then we have to prove ourselves. But, for
How
the
often
most part,
does that happen? Does that ever, like,
I,
how often do you get sued?
I, I mean, I have zero claims. I have zero paid claims
Yeah.
in. I've done 14 billion in residential business since 2020, and zero paid claims. Now, why is that? Because number one, I'm thorough. And we're thorough. We have multiple sets of eyes on every part of the transaction. We use good vendors to make
Look,
sure
I
that we're
can
getting.
vouch for that because we went to lunch the other day and like this dude was honest. I mean, it was great seeing you.
Sorry,
Like it was great. I
I
mean,
felt so
really,
bad.
yeah.
I actually told a buddy of mine, I'm like, I feel so bad, dude. I went to lunch with a buddy that I haven't seen in a while, and my phone did not stop the whole time. And thank God you're an understanding guy, and that's
That's true.
business is business.
Business is
I make
business.
sure that our clients are protected. And when people come back and say, hey, we don't want title insurance, you know what I say to them? You're buying $1 million house, right? The policy is going to cost you $3,000 just for argument's sake. If you were buying a ring for your fiance, right?
Yeah.
What's the first thing you do? You
Yeah,
spend
you get to insure it.
you go to get it insured, right? You get
Yeah.
it appraised, you get it insured. The ring is worth $50,000. Your house is worth $1 million, right? So do the math. Why wouldn't you want to be protected and take owner's policy insurance? So if you
100%.
take an owner's policy, we have to do a job to protect you, and then if God forbid something comes up, then we're responsible at the end of the day. So
I mean, I didn't even know title was optional, to be honest with you. I don't think it. I mean, it is
I
in New
mean,
York.
listen,
I never heard of.
on a purchase, even if it's all cash, no attorney really would allow a client to not take title insurance.
To not
I
take
don't know
title.
any that would. You can't
You know what
represent
it
your
is?
client.
We get a lot. I get this a lot where people want to waive the inspection, and I'm like, you're
Right. Why
buying
would
a
you
million
do that?
dollar apartment and you're gonna waive like a $700 inspection? Like, go make sure the place is in tip top shape. I mean,
Well,
it's
the
seven
only
hundred
thing
dollars. You're spending $1 million. You know what I mean?
Right,
What's 700?
exactly. The only
Yeah.
thing that, and I always say, even on a survey, if it's a non-condo or co-op and it's a single-family property, we require a survey. But the only time I say don't pay for a survey is if you're knocking the house down, or you're doing huge renovations to the property and you're going to have to get updates anyway on it. At the end of the day, surveys, lien searches, appraisals, like there's no reason for this stuff. You're buying an asset. You want to make sure that what you're paying for is what you're getting, and it's in the proper condition. So,
All right. So
and
so there's your why. All right.
yeah, I mean
What
that's the reason why, and the process is simple. We do our research, we put a report together, a commitment, depending on the state, you call it different things. We send it to the clients for review. We clear title, and what clearing title means is that we make sure that there's a current mortgage on the property, that we're getting a valid payoff. We make sure that whatever taxes are due are picked up and prorated based on the new purchase, if it's a purchase or refinance. We make sure that the survey matches up to the property description or the legal description. So we produce a report.
essentially you're guaranteeing like it's like when you buy a diamond, right? It has to be authentic, okay? Like you
That's
don't want to buy
correct.
a fake diamond. You're
Yep.
guaranteeing this diamond is real.
I'm guaranteeing that the house and the seller has no issues moving forward to the closing, and that what you're buying is what's recorded in the county
And,
records.
and you're buying what you think you're buying. You're
That's correct.
buying, if it's a smaller property, then we got a problem, right? Because especially if you're a developer, let's say, and you want to put up a certain
Of
amount of
course.
properties, and now you can't. That cuts into your profit. So let me ask you another question, because this show, like what really like a little basis of the show. So also I want like people who are interested in real estate. Maybe someone wants to get into title. How do they do that? So I'd love to like ask you some questions. Like, how'd you get into title? What did you do before you
I was a
went
hi-
into
I was
real estate?
a I was a high school teacher, so I taught. I
I know
have my
that, but I acted surprised. I acted
yeah.
surprised, but I do know that. Yeah.
I was a high
What
school
language?
teacher.
What did you teach? What
I
like what
taught.
what subject?
I have a degree in history education with a minor in sociology. So I was a high school teacher for 4 years, 2 years rather,
For
in New
history?
York
So what,
City
you were
when
a
I
history
lived in New
teacher?
York. Um, yeah, yeah,
History? You
yeah.
taught history?
I was a history. You're breaking up a little, bud.
Are you there? Yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, I
I don't
took.
know if it's my internet. Yeah, we're good though. I think your internet connection might be
Okay.
a little unstable, but I don't know. I don't know. But we're okay. I hear you fine. Do you hear me?
All right. Cool. Yep. You're good.
Yeah, yeah.
So I went away to college. I played baseball in college and came back with a degree and taught history and inclusion. So I taught in Brooklyn the first couple of years that I was a
Which
teacher.
school? Which school did you
I
teach at
I
in
taught at
Brooklyn?
my first job was at John Jay High School in Park Slope. And that's where I'm kind of from there. I'm from Carroll Gardens, so not too far from where I grew up. And I was born at Methodist, which is 2 blocks away from where I taught. Then I taught in
That's where it all
Grady,
began.
which was a yeah. I taught in Wagner High School in Staten Island, and then I taught at telecommunications in Bay Ridge in Brooklyn, and then Wagner.
Jeez.
One
So you
one
really taught. So you
Grady
taught for a long
Grady rather.
time. So you taught for like
Yeah, I
what, like
taught.
10 years?
No. It was only two. That's the crazy
I mean,
part.
you
So
just named
it
like
was only
10 places.
yeah. It was 4 schools in 2 years. Fortunately, when you're a new teacher, you don't have tenure and you get bounced around from school to school where they need openings. Once you're a tenured teacher, then then usually you stay where you are.
Then you stick. Then you
My
stick somewhere.
brother, my brother is still in education. He was a principal at Brooklyn Tech High School, which is one of the top schools in the country, as a principal for 15 years, and now he is one of the top tiered members of the technology team in New York City, and runs all the tech from kindergarten through 12th grade for New York City Public
Wow.
Schools. So,
Very
yeah.
cool, man.
So,
So okay, so
yeah,
you're a teacher and you're like, I don't want to be a teacher or what?
yeah, just couldn't. I was hustling, going up for my master's. Waitering, bartending, tutoring, coaching baseball. Unfortunately, back then, when I was a teacher, we didn't make any money. I would come home after taxes and with less than 500 a week.
What back then? What teachers make money now? Like what?
I mean,
Well,
it's a lot better than it
it's
was,
better.
and it
It
depends
is
on you.
better. Well, that's
It,
good
it
to hear.
I mean, I think I think it's based on where you are geographically.
Yeah.
I don't think teachers make enough money for what they do and how hard they work. It's
Oh,
an ungratifying financial career,
yeah.
and truth be told, is I thought that I would. Make a lot more, even though I love teaching, and I still teach just in a different world. Teaching right now, so
And
I thought
teaching
that it.
all of our viewers,
That's right.
listeners.
So I thought
So
I
how
thought
did
that
you get
it.
into real estate? So you went from teaching. What happened where you're
Yep.
like,
So
I'm going to
so
become a
after I,
title guy? Yeah.
no, well, it wasn't even that. After I was a teacher, I went to work in Manhattan at Catherine Gibbs, which was a 2-year school, in their presentation department, we'll call it. And I used to go around to New York City schools, to the social studies programs, and do a presentation to all the history kids about alternative education. I do a presentation, and listen, college is not for everyone. A 4-year school is not for everyone. A trade school is, if you're in a trade now in today's day and age, you're killing it. Electricians and or car repair and HVAC. Those guys make a ton of money. I mean, it takes time like anything else, but 4-year schools are not meant for everyone. So I went to work for them. I crushed every record that was in the school. I brought in like it was around. It was a larger corporation, but I brought in revenue that was unheard of. There were 7 other reps in New York, and my revenue for the school was more than all 7 combined. So I crushed it. So at the end of the first year, and I wasn't making a ton more, but I got an expense account, and it was a corporate job.
So
So I figured I would
you were
climb
like
the
a
ladder.
public speaker kind of? Like it was like a public
Yeah, I
speaker
did.
kind of?
I did public speaking, motivational speak, whatever you want to call
Yeah,
it. I would
I
speak
mean,
to
dude, I can
anywhere
totally.
from.
I mean, you're doing it right now. Like, I can totally
Thanks.
see that. I can totally see that.
Yeah,
So
anywhere
okay,
from 30 to 1,000 kids, depending on the
yeah.
school. Sometimes it would be a whole auditorium, and sometimes it would be just a class. And after a year, I crushed all the numbers. I went for my yearly review, and they offered me like $3,500 more. And I sat there and I laughed. I'm like, you guys must be kidding me. Like, I just blew everything out of the water, and you're offering me this? I'm like, I thought that I would be able to climb the ladder. And they're like, well, this position, you can't take your boss's position. She's tenured, and the position only calls for this salary. I'm like, so
I
what
mean,
else
what
could
were
be
you
done here?
expecting? Like, were you expecting like what kind of bonuses do they give at companies
I
like
mean,
that?
I don't know. It was my
Yeah,
first experience. It was my first
yeah,
year, but I
yeah,
certainly didn't think that I deserved. I was making
yeah.
33,000
But you were
plus a
like, there's
car
no
expense, and
future. You're like, there's no future
yeah,
here.
no, I was like, I just brought in all this revenue. I thought I would get a better position or more opportunity. And they said, well, if you want that, you have to go on this vertical and then you have to climb that ladder. I'm like, so why did you guys not tell me this to begin with when I told you what my goals were? So
Yeah.
I said, if you can't do anything, please have my resignation papers ready tomorrow. My boss was crying because I made her job a joke, and she was cool and she was my friend, and it was a great job. I really enjoyed it. And that was
But you're like a
2001.
true New Yorker, right? That's like such a New York move, right? You're like, I'm worth more than this, and like you're not doing it, so see ya, I'm out of
I
here.
mean, listen, I need to
And I
make
will
money.
say that to
I
anyone
have
listening,
goals, and
you got to know your value in life. You got to know your value, right? You'll agree with that 100%. I mean, look at that. What a power move you made. You knew your value was more, and you were like, I'm out of here. I'm gonna go find my value because it's like I'm not getting it here.
yep. So I was
So
working
okay,
in
so
so I left. I started working in restaurants, and I happen to love. I was a foodie. I've always worked in restaurants. I was working in a restaurant, met some people, and they brought me into the title business. And then when I joined
really,
Kensington, a
so
national.
the restaurant brought you, like, what do you mean the restaurant brought you into the title business? Like,
Well, I had, I was serving people that were, in the business and around the business, and I knew nothing about title. And, I just, I took a job, and the first
wow.
day,
What, like
the first day
you
I was
literally had people who ate at your restaurant or came to your restaurant, and they were
to see
like,
me.
dude, you would be so good at title.
Well,
Like anything like that?
I happen to be a good salesperson. So, a lot of people used to come to the restaurant wanting fish, and I'd sell them a steak. Or, it was, they always said, you'd be amazing in the
Yeah. They're
business, and it
like,
was
you got a great salesperson. Yeah.
2002, I believe, and back then, like you could sneeze and get a title order. Um, After college, I actually was calling Dun and Bradstreet leads at 5 p.m. on my first day,
What's that?
and I
What's a
call some
Brad
guy.
Street lead? What's that?
Dun and Bradstreet is a data company from back in the
Okay.
day. So you used to buy data. It was like little index cards, and they had all the contact information for the loan officers or bankers or what have you. So I made a call, and I spoke to some guy, and I remember his name is Ron Martyr in New York City, and he worked at Chase, and we started shooting the breeze, and I told him the truth. I'm like, listen, this is my first day, and he started laughing. He was kind of a really good guy, actually,
And who is
and
this
and we
guy? He
get to
just works at
talking.
Chase.
He was
He
he was a
processes
top
loans.
producer. He was a top producer loan officer at Chase in Manhattan.
Yeah.
And listen, I really knew nothing about the title business at that point.
Yeah. Well, it was your first
And so
day.
so it was my first day. So he starts laughing, and we start shooting the shit, and I tell him what college I went to, and he's like, "You went to Oswego?" He goes, one of my buddies that works here went to Oswego. I'm like, come on. And right there, he gives me the cell phone number to the guy I passed out next to on my 21st birthday.
Oh my
Um,
God. This is
yeah,
on your
so
first
so
day? This is literally
my
your
first
first
day,
day? So
first day
and
at
what, the
five
guy turned
at
out
like
to be
5 o'clock. Oh,
the
he's my
guy
good
turned out
friend.
to be
I
like
just
a great connection or what? Like the guy
He was the
started
manager. He was the manager of the Forest Hills location of Chase Subprime or BC. And I call him up, and he's like, "Dude, I haven't talked to you since college." And I tell him what I do, and he's like, "Bro, come on in. Let's sit down." So I left the next day and went to go see him. We had lunch. He had a team of like 8 people, half of which I still do business with from 20 some odd years ago. And that's how it really began. And then, as you get to know the business and grow, I used to, I knew a million people from different, parts of my life. And then you meet someone and, they introduce you to someone else. And before
So
you know it,
where do you get your business from? Like who is your number like when you were
Jonathan,
marketing what
Jonathan from Corcoran in Williamsburg, Brooklyn.
I mean, no, we know that that's not true. I don't even. I mean, I don't even really refer title. I mean, I don't even.
No,
You know,
you
the
refer
attorneys
attorney, and
do.
then yeah, exactly. So New York's a different animal, but
But like,
so
where?
my
But like, who? What is your number one referral source for deals? Like, how do you? I mean,
so
I
so
know. How do you do so many
yeah.
deals?
Uh, so the last couple of years have obviously been a little bit slower in the marketplace, but I
Every year is
started out my
different.
career just literally doing all refinance business. I would do anywhere from 100 to 450 deals a month on a national level. At that point, refinances were all over the place, and most of my business came from bankers, lenders, mortgage brokers, regular consumers. A lot of people, and you wear a sign on your chest that says "I do title." People will. I run into John Smith at the mall, and John Smith tells me, "Yeah, I'm about to refi my house," and I say, "Okay, you could use me for title." He makes an intro to his mortgage guy or what have you. So that's how I really got going with lending. And then as business grew, I've always done a lot of residential business. and it was New York, upstate, like Westchester County, Long Island, obviously, and the boroughs, and then Jersey, and Connecticut. That was where most of my clients were when I was in
I
New
mean,
York.
you guys used to throw the best parties and like, used to go to the games. Like, what happened? You can't do that anymore, I guess. I mean, I
So
don't.
New York RESPA has changed the regulations over the last 5 years, and I can't
They're
even
like,
buy you a
no
slice of
fun. We
pizza.
don't want you to have fun anymore. No more fun.
Yeah. Well, truth be told is, you're not really allowed to do anything. It's very strict guidelines on what you're allowed to do. And as you know, I used to do 3, 4, 500-person events in New York, and used to do broker opens for the biggest brokers in New York, and it would get me a lot of business. And at a point, Property Shark hired me to do their yearly event, and I had like 2,600 people at a nightclub in New York because it was the only place I could hold that many people. It was amazing, and it was fun. But after they changed the regulations, like when you do a lot of business and you do big events, people are waiting to trip you up and for you to do stupid things and get in trouble. And at the end of the day, we're very compliant. I don't want to play games. So,
Right. Yeah, no,
but
that makes sense.
In Florida, and I don't agree with most of it. So, one of the problems is that people ruin the opportunity for everyone else. So, you got guys out there that are taking their clients to here, there, and the other place, and ruin the opportunity for me and a banker or an agent or a developer to go to dinner. And I'm not going there to pay for his meal to get business. We're going to discuss business, right?
Yeah.
No other industry can you not go out and discuss business. Whether I pick up the check or someone else picks up the check, it should be based on, what we're going there for. I don't need to buy you a steak to get your
And
business,
our
right?
goal is to drum up business, right? Our goal
That's
is
correct.
to
That's correct.
create business.
That's correct.
Exactly.
So in Florida, it's a little more open as far as what you're allowed to do and not allowed to do. And I don't say it's not as compliant. It obviously is the same compliance, but you're not they're not as stringent down here with their compliance
Well,
aspect.
in
So,
Florida, you're getting referred more by the agent, right? So the
so down
registered
here,
broker
yeah.
is
So
actually, yeah.
So when I came down here and made the transition to Florida, I hadn't done much business down here. I came down every month I came down for a week and I built my pipeline. Eventually, I opened a big fish down here and had to open an office like literally the next day. Went to dinner at night. The next morning I was in the office at WeWork on Lincoln and Washington opening a location because I needed the address to send contracts and what have you. So
Yeah, so
and
why
then
the
I
move? So why the move? So I mean, I know you as the New
yeah.
York title guy,
So
and
so
then you left. You came to Florida how long ago?
it's going to be 11 years. So I
11
lived in
years. Okay.
Miami for 7, and now I'm up in Boca for almost 4.
Got it. And then what prompted your move down to Florida?
I had my daughter who's now 12, and we lived in Long Island City when I had her, and then moved out to Garden City for a couple of years. But I always loved Florida. I felt like I don't want to say it was a cow town at that time because it certainly wasn't, but
What does
it
that mean?
was
I never heard
under.
that. Cowtown. What's
Yeah,
Cowtown?
it means like it was underdeveloped in a lot of areas. Like if you
Oh,
went to Brickell right now, what it looked like 10 years ago was
yeah.
a completely different landscape. So I knew that I saw the writing on the wall down here. I had a lot of friends down here, and you know what? Not that I got tired of New York, but it was running on a treadmill after a while. You keep doing the same thing over and over. I was doing it
Yeah.
for, at that time, 15 years. No, it was just it got a little monotonous. And I like to challenge myself. Not that I you know, couldn't do business up there. I still do business nationally. I still have 90% of the clients that I had before, maybe even
What
higher.
percentage of your business is still in New York?
Probably I posted, I used to post it monthly. Now I just started again. But let's say I do 100 deals, probably anywhere from 25 to 40 in New York and Florida, and the rest nationally. So,
That's a
but
lot. So it's a huge chunk still.
I
Yeah.
mean, I guess when you're used to doing 300 deals, 350 deals a month, when you do, and now I'm doing 100 again. But
That's the
for a
drop
couple,
off. What is the drop off? So when you say, okay, so like on an average year, let's just talk average, okay? How many
yep,
deals are you doing a month on an average
one seven,
year or an average month?
150 to 200.
Okay, so let's call it 175 then. Okay, on a good month, how many are you doing?
350,
350, and on a terrible month,
50.
50. So it's anywhere
I
from
mean,
50 to
right,
350
but and it runs the
a
gamut.
month.
But a month. But it does like the last couple of years. There's been months that I did 25 or 20, and and I
So
have.
so even
Oh,
lower than 50. Wow.
correct, but listen, that comes and goes. I mean, that's not the norm. The good thing is about my business model and about the business I do. Most of my business, and this is not what I concentrate on. So it's not like, well, it is what I concentrate on, but it's not what I do. I do anything over 100,000 on a national scale outside of a few states. My most of my business is done on the luxury
What's
or
what's the most obscure state you've done a deal in?
well, I don't do business anymore in Oklahoma. We cut that out. So Oklahoma is one of the most
Arkansas? Have you
difficult.
done a deal in Arkansas?
Yeah, I'm doing a $14 million commercial deal there right now. Actually, it's supposed
Really?
to close soon. So yeah,
That's great.
yeah.
So
I
what
mean,
about
we
Hawaii?
we do.
Hawaii?
We,
Hawaii?
so I don't do Hawaii. I used to do Hawaii. That's one of the other states I don't do. I don't do
Really?
Hawaii. I don't do
Why? Why not
Alaska.
Hawaii?
Um, it just became a difficult state to do
Like
as far as
logistics or what?
yeah, because we weren't licensed there, so I have to go through an underwriter to do it, and the premiums weren't that great. So in order to do those states, I listen. There's the West Coast. I'm not licensed in a lot of states, but I like to do, but I do them nationally. Those kind of states like Hawaii, I'm only doing a few a year. I'm not concentrating on that business, and if I have no control over it, and I'm not really making money on it, I can't provide the service that people are accustomed to using me. As you know, service is everything to me. Speed, professionalism, having the network, being able to answer questions and getting deals closed. That's what I do. And if I can't do that, I can't be myself. And my team, is limited. So I don't want to ruin my reputation on things that I don't control to try to be greedy and take and get everyone's business everywhere when I don't do it the right way. It's like if you fix cars but you don't know how to fix a Lamborghini, you shouldn't try because you're going to screw it up. So stick with what you know and do it the best you can.
Who's so on a transaction, right? Again, let's just idiot proof it for people. Who is your client? Who do
So
you work for?
well, who do we work for? It depends. If it's a purchase, we're really
Right.
working on the owner's policy for the owner or the buyer, right?
So he can
In,
sell
in a
it
lot
properly.
in a lot of places, like it really depends who orders title. Or the overall answer is my allegiance is to the transaction. I want to make sure that number one, we handle the both buy side and sell side and loan side as a lender's policy the right way. So who orders? It depends on where you are. There's
Well, again,
places like
let's just, I mean, let's just look. Let's keep it simple. $1 million condo, Miami.
buyer
Okay,
chooses
seller
title.
buyer. Buyer chooses. So buyer says, "I'm gonna hire Vanguard, right? Kensington. I'm gonna hire, Glenn." And so now you work for the buyer.
Correct, but it depends on the type of transaction. If it's a purchase, then I work for the buyer.
Million
But
dollar
I'm working.
purchase.
Right, but it depends who orders it. So ultimately, I'm working for the buyer, right? It's ultimately the buyer, okay, consumer's decision to order from whoever they want. Typically, the real estate agent is the
Yeah.
one who refers the title company, on the transactions in Florida, unless the buyer or seller has a relationship. Are there attorneys? There are attorneys on some transactions residentially. It's not necessary on a residential transaction down here because the contracts are what they call as is. So they're not changing, right? They're not red lines. You have to add additional terms if you're doing something special. You have to list out the property, items that people are buying separately, like furniture and what have you. But it's not like New York where the attorneys are really negotiating the terms of the contract
Yeah.
after the offer is
Not
made and
really.
it's
I mean, they
finalized.
are. I
Well,
mean, I
not the
gotta tell
terms,
you.
but
Yeah.
yeah, but they're redlining it, right? They're going
Not the
over it.
terms, right? Not the terms,
Not the
but I
terms,
mean,
but the
I got to be
parameters.
honest. I got to be
Yeah.
honest, and I've worked as a real estate broker in California, and now obviously, my history is in New York, and I'm going to get licensed in Florida. And New York is a unicorn. Nowhere does it work like New York, and the fact that we don't deal with contracts I got to tell you something. It's how it should be everywhere. I actually am amazed that these other cities have real estate brokers handling the contracts. It blows me away. It actually blows me away how that's the norm.
I mean, the truth be told is in Florida, and I know the differential because I see it day to day. The real estate agents, they do a lot down here. First of all, there's a lot of changes in compliance down here, on documents, on this, on that, on the
Yeah.
contract, which just changed a few years ago.
And the
Not that New York
disclosures, how many
agents,
disclosures? Like that many?
ah, forget it. It's
Yeah.
insanity. It's insane. They just came out
We
with a
have
new
we have
condo
like
rider.
two disclosures in New York. It's a joke.
Yeah. So
Joke.
so they just came out with a new condo rider down here that you must get certain information presented from the management company to the buyer of the condo from the listing side, and it must be signed off. There's seven different parameters that have to be disclosed, from the condo minutes to the entity doc. Like it's and now all the HOA is supposed to
So is
have it
that
on their
because of
website.
Surfside? Is that because of Surfside
No,
or
no, I just
nothing to
think
do with
that
that?
there's a lot of crooks down here and a lot of shitty HOAs that don't disclose the proper information. So what happens is, on a finance deal, for instance, the lender comes and says, I need a condo questionnaire, right? But there's a financing contingency. So you have 21 days to get the loan commitment, right? Like an approval and a commitment from the lender, and present it. Well, if the condo questionnaire is taking 14 business days and they wait until after the inspection period, you're talking about a 3-day differential to get the condo questionnaire and approve the loan. It's not fair. It really isn't. The associations down here are lackluster. Half of the employees don't know what they're talking about. Just had a situation yesterday where they sent an email that was just so ridiculous that it was laughable, and they don't know
What
anything.
they say? What was the
I
email?
mean, it was a very unique situation. I'm closing a townhome for a client. It's a purchase in Miami, and typically townhomes have HOAs, but you don't need approvals in some of them. Some of them you do. It falls into a gray area. But the association had a rule that was only given to us on the estoppel that we received a couple of days before, and said if it's a non-owner occupied property and not a primary residence, then the buyer has to pay a $2,000 fee to the association. But the email to clarify that, because this is the situation, the buyer is purchasing it as an investment property, but they don't
Yeah.
have a tenant yet, right? So they
Yeah.
don't have a renter yet. They're buying it, and typically if they get a loan, they have 60 days to occupy the property or rent it as part of the loan parameters, let's say. So if that's the case, it's so ambiguous. I don't know if what you mean by collect 2,000 for non-owner occupied means that it has to be rented at the time of purchase or not. So we sent an email to clarify it, and the email back was literally laughable. The guy had no clue what he was saying, and we had to wait until today to confirm with the
Who
association.
gives you this? Who told
The
you
the
you
a-
needed that?
It was on what's called an estoppel. So we have to order a condo estoppel letter that gives the parameters, whether there's special assessments that need to be paid, what the dues are, what the current dues are they paid in full, this, that, and the other thing, any specific stipulations. Never saw something like this before in an estoppel. So once we had it, we have to email them
Who writes
back.
that? Like who sends
The
you the stop?
associations.
The
We order them
association.
from the property management
Got
company
it.
or the
Okay,
association.
the management
Correct.
companies. Okay. Okay.
Correct. So it came back with some bullshit, and we've never seen it before. So my processor
Yeah.
came to me, and then I went to the lender and said, who's my client, and said, hey, how do you want us to handle this? I'm going to wait until the association approves it, but based on the language in the email, it looks like we have to collect it no matter what. But you know what? I want to be safe. I don't want to put you in jeopardy as a bank or as or as the real estate agent, and not doing the right thing by your client and having a problem down the line. So let me communicate with the proper party. It was 4:00. They go home at 4:15. So we had to wait until today to get the property management company on the phone and confirm what the guy from the HOA couldn't confirm. So
I mean, dude,
yeah,
dude,
and listen,
don't lie
these
to me right
these
now.
situations.
Don't lie to me right now. Tell me the truth,
Yeah,
okay?
yeah.
How many cups of coffee have you had today? How many cups of coffee?
One.
Only one?
I just started taking this product, David Beckham's new product, IM8.
Are you being
It's pretty.
serious? This
Yeah,
is
it's
look.
pretty
This is
good.
not a promotional. This is not a
This is not a
promotional.
promotion, but David Beckham, if you're there, I'll do your
Is it? What
refund.
is it? What is it? What is it? What is it?
It's 92. It's 92 different supplements combined. So it has a great balance of vitamins and nutrients,
It's a
all in
drink.
a
Like
scoop.
it's like a drink.
Yeah, you put it. No, it's a scoop. You put it in water, shake it
Oh,
up,
it's
and
good.
gobble it down.
Damn,
So, and
dude.
I take ketones. Shout out to John Jones. Ketone IQ is another product that puts your body into ketosis. So
I mean,
I
you're a
only
beast.
eat two.
I won't. I'm not gonna ask you to stand and like, but you're a beast, dude. You are a beast. I mean, look at you.
Well,
You're all energy. Like talking to you. I mean, it's so funny, right? Because like I'm talking to you, and half of it, I'm like, all right, I don't even know. I don't even know. I know he knows what he's talking about. So it's just like, do your thing. Like life. Let me tell you, in real estate, it's all about having the right people helping you achieve your goals. And when you have someone like you, I have to say, it's like I don't need to worry about it. I don't need to worry about titles.
well,
Glenn's
that truth be told, and I'll finalize a couple things, but truth be told is I've taught myself and been a student of the game every day. I'm trying to learn something new and trying to change the environment. My business is friggin' boring, right? We get land records, we produce a report, we give insurance. It's not a
Look, I'm not
fun
gonna lie to
industry
you.
on
Your
the
business
face.
is boring. Okay, it's
Yeah,
not
but
flashy.
you know what? I enjoy it because I like to deal with good people. I like a challenge, no matter what it is. I just closed
Yeah.
a deal, and I just closed a deal over the Christmas holiday in 4 days from contract to funding. For a huge client, which is unheard of. I've
Unheard
done
of.
a couple of things that I'd rolled out an AI platform,
What's the biggest
and
one you ever closed? The biggest deal you ever closed?
um,
Highest purchase
so
price.
total purchase price was probably the Four Seasons in Nashville. We closed 400 units in that building, which is an amazing project. I just closed a crazy deal in Miami Beach for a developer. It was a termination deal. I should say we. I shouldn't say me. My team is absolutely crushed it with me, and I'm nobody without them because I could
Look,
lead
don't
the.
don't
No,
don't
listen,
plug your
man.
team. Don't come
No,
on my
listen.
show.
I'm plugging
Plug
my
your
team, buddy.
team.
All right. I'm so these guys were women,
Wait,
men
who?
were.
Who's your team? Who's your team? Talk to me.
I mean, it was 8 people. We closed.
8 people. Wow.
Yeah, we closed 240 units in 3 days, literally,
Wow.
condos, and
Wow.
all
That's
all
crazy.
different. All different sellers and one buyer. So, unlike a regular condo deal where the developer is the seller and the buyers are individuals, it's the reverse. So we had to order all the payoffs, all the tax. It was a very, very difficult deal, and we closed all the units in 3 days and funded over a long holiday weekend. Record service, like killed it. But my staff and
How
my
did they
team.
get all the deals to close within that window, that 3-day window? I mean, I don't even see
I
how you
guess you're
do
gonna
that.
have to. I guess you're gonna have to order title from me to find out.
Yeah, baby. Let's go.
Right, I got you.
Go,
So,
man.
I like to do things differently. I have my own app. Everybody, go to my website, askthetitleguy.com. You could see all the things that I do. Do a lot of social media, as you know. It's Ask the Title Guy on Instagram. I try to keep everyone informed about changes in regulations and how I feel. I try to be honest and forthright as I always am. But my website is a great resource and tool to get knowledge and get information, to get documents, to get my app, which gives sellers net sheets right on your phone. As an agent in New York, in Florida, refinances across the country. So when you need a quote, you don't have to wait for it. You can not that you wait a long time with me anyway, but I give the power to you guys to do it
Wait.
yourselves,
Let me tell you,
right?
all right? Glenn's one of those guys you could text him at 2 a.m. and he'll get back to you at 2:01. Like, yeah, what's going on? Yeah?
Yeah.
You need me? Like,
I mean, I
literally.
have a weird
That was
schedule.
a
I just
compliment.
flipped. Yeah, I just flipped it back to the way it used to be, where I'm up at 4:30 in the gym again. And when business was slow, it was a little different. But now I'm starting to get busy again as rates drop and things start happening. I also have a product in Florida for bank-to-bank refinances. Same lender to same lender, same money on intangible tax. I don't want to give away any secrets. Once again, I'll give you my information. It's G Asher at kvnational.com,
I'll put
or
it.
you go to
I'll
my
put it on the episode notes, so like people will,
awesome.
if they want to contact you, you tell me. Actually, send me an email on what you want
Yeah,
there, and I'll add it. I'll add it.
cool. All
I'll
right,
add it
wonderful. Well,
exactly.
listen, John, I have to run, but it's always
Yeah,
a pleasure,
man.
my man. Thank you. It
Thank
was
you
great
so
seeing
much
you. And
for yeah. Thank you so much for coming on the show, and like just leave our listeners with this. Just one last thing. What advice would you give to anyone looking to get into title?
well, it's not an easy field to get into right now. There's a lot of competition, obviously, but business is
So
starting to
don't do
pick
it.
up. No, 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 please. I actually just hired someone who has zero experience as another executive assistant to my assistant Edison, who's my right hand and like a little brother to me, and he's amazing. And she knows nothing about the business. My experience is sometimes the people that have no experience in the business become the best employees because you're training them on your system and ways.
They're becoming like
They're
you,
becoming like me. So that's the deal.
dude.
See you
Love
later,
it.
brother.
No, want to thank
Powered
Glenn
by
Asher for
Riverside.
coming on the show. It was a great show. I hope everyone learned something, anything from but thanks for tuning in to Jason Unfiltered every Thursday. New show. Ciao. Baby. Glenn,
Later.
thanks for coming, baby.
Later. Bye.
All right, guy.
Cool, bro. I